There's this idea that gets pushed a lot now, that at some point in your life you need a villain arc, where you need to stop caring, stop being nice, stop worrying about how your actions affect other people. So you become colder, more detached, more focused on yourself, and on the surface that does sound powerful. It sounds like you finally have control over your life, like you finally stop letting things affect you, like you've leveled up. And I can understand why people fall into that mindset, because it usually doesn't come from nowhere. It comes after something, after you've messed up, after a relationship ends, after you feel like you've been hurt or misunderstood, or things just didn't go the way you thought they would. There's this moment where you just think, all right, I'm done. I'm done caring. I'm done being this version of myself. And it feels like the only other option is to swing the other way, to become someone who doesn't feel as much. I think a part of me believed that becoming something like that would make things easier. That if I cared less, I feel less. That if I detached myself from people, I wouldn't get hurt in the same way. That if I just focused on myself and ignored everything else, I'd somehow feel stronger. And for a short period of time, it did work. You do feel more in control, less affected, less reactive. Because what people don't really talk about is what that actually turns into over time. It's not peace, it's not clarity, it's not this strong, confident version of yourself walking through life unaffected. It's something much quieter than that, and honestly, a lot heavier. On the outside, it can look like you don't care, like nothing bothers you, like you're just doing your own thing. But internally, it's very different, because you're still aware. You still know when something you're doing isn't right. You still recognize your own behavior. You just ignore it or justify it or push it down. And that creates constant tension. And over time, something starts to happen. You feel disconnected, not just from other people, but from yourself, because your actions and the kind of person you believe you should be, they don't match anymore. Even if you don't say it out loud, you feel it. I don't think people talk enough about how that actually feels, because it's not dramatic. It's not like you wake up one day and think, oh, I hate who I am now. It's more subtle than that. It's small moments. After you say something you didn't need to say, after you act in a way that doesn't sit right with you, after you treat someone in a way you know you shouldn't have, instead of facing it, you just move on. But the feelings stay with you. And when that keeps happening, it builds frustration, disappointment, the quiet feeling of this isn't who I want to be. But instead of changing it, you keep going, you double down, because stopping would mean admitting that you were wrong. And I think that's why most people stay in that mindset a lot longer than they should, because it's a hell of a lot easier to pretend you don't care than to admit that you do. It's easier to lean into being cold than to take responsibility for your own behavior, because responsibility, once again, forces you to change. And as I've said countless times on this channel, change is uncomfortable. Over time, this starts affecting everything. You don't connect with people the same way. You're not open. You're not honest. Not fully anyway, because that would mean dropping the version of yourself that you've built. And slowly, things start to feel empty, even if everything on the outside looks fine. At some point, I actually had to sit with that. And I had to realize that this version of myself wasn't stronger, it wasn't better, it wasn't progress, it was just avoidance. I was avoiding uncomfortable thoughts, avoiding responsibility, avoiding facing who I actually was at the time. I think people confuse shutting things off with strength, but there's nothing difficult about becoming cold. Anyone can do that. Anyone can stop caring. The harder thing is to stay aware of yourself, to recognize your behavior and actually face it, and decide to be better, even when it's uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, you still have to live with yourself. Not the version you show people, not the version you pretend to be, but the version you are when you're on your own. And if you don't respect that version of yourself, it doesn't matter what anything else looks like. So no, I don't think people need a villain arc. I think people go through phases where they feel like they do, but it's not something to aim for. It's something you eventually realize isn't what you actually wanted, because becoming someone you don't respect isn't freedom. It's just a different kind of trap.